All right, I'm Steve Carver with my Academy for Entrepreneurs and Associates, and we're certainly glad to have you with us tonight. We're going to be talking about the business skill of forecasting. This is part 5 in a 10-part series. But it's all about improving your game, improving your business game, and once you learn to forecast effectively, you'll see things really improve for you in a hurry. I'm not a lawyer or an accountant. I'm just a fellow that's been in business a long time offering you free advice. My first piece of advice is always to get a second and even a third opinion before you make a major financial move that's going to affect your financial security or your business. You're always welcome to give me a call or send an email any way that I can help you. There'll be no charge for any information that I send to you. Our series that we're working on now in this 10-part series, we're calling it Raising the Bar in 2022 to help us grow our businesses. We're about halfway through it, and I've got videos and handouts from the ones previously. If you're just joining me for the first time tonight, I'll be glad to send you copies of what we talked about so far. You are eligible to win certificates or to earn certificates and be awarded certificates for how much you participate. You don't have to do anything. You're welcome just to come and listen and sit back and drink your tea. But if you're really diving into it and want to do some assignments and meet some requirements and pass a quiz, we've got lots of nice certificates to send to you. I will note to you, those of you that have attended the last series, I did order the certificates today for you all, and hopefully by this time next week we'll be able to have them in the mail to you. Tomorrow night, we're going to have a Thursday night session for money management and cash flow in a small business. It'll be a 2-hour session starting at 6 o'clock. You log in the same way you did here tonight. And this is basically the same presentation as we do in week 5 in our 7-part series. So you're welcome to log in again tomorrow night for a refresher course, or maybe your first time. Next week, right here on Wednesday night, 2 really important presentations. One is about how to find, train, and keep the very best employees for your business. And then we'll follow that up with becoming a dream manager. And dream manager is about how to help your employees become engaged with your business and your goals so that you, both you and your employees can see your dreams and your goals come true. It's a really different type of presentation. Both of these are. So if you are looking for some change in the way these presentations go, I think you'll really enjoy these 2 next week. It's okay, we're up to 40 Main Street drill skills in the handout I sent to you earlier today. If you've been a regular attendee, you can see we've upped it from 36 to 40. And this will be leveled off. We'll keep it at 40 all through the summer. Those of you who did not get a handout, if you signed on without going through the registration, you're welcome. And after over in the chat board, if you'll just type in there that you'd like for me to email you the handouts, I'll be glad to do that. The study guides are really important to go with these series, but I'll definitely need your email address if you type in chat, and I'll send those to you sometime tomorrow. A brand new drill skill we're introduced right now is number 35, and basically what it's saying is you need to have an informed and structured forecasting method in your business. And you want that because it is the very best way to avoid these curveballs that old Murphy sends all the time. You've heard of Murphy's always around with bad luck. Well, I like to call them Murphy curveballs. That's those surprises you get that you don't want. It's the best way to avoid pitfalls, unpleasant surprises, and unexpected expenses. As a matter of fact, structured forecasting is basically, we could say, having a good business plan. But it takes it even further than that. So this is a good drill skill to really hang on to because we want to be forecasting all the time that we can. Now, the quiz for this series to earn your certificate by attending at least 4 of these 5 presentations is that, number 1, Employees don't always quit their job. Most of the time they quit their boss. Magic marketing is that moment when you follow up with a customer to get extra information from them. A business plan helps us avoid pitfalls and expenses and tells us what's left. Extreme preparation is what we're going to be needing if we're going to be a successful negotiator. Structured marketing plan will help you reach more customers with less money. And Walt Disney gives us a real good lesson about how to greet customers, and he says that when we're within 10 feet of a customer, we ought to smile and give them eye contact. And when we're within 5 feet of a customer, we need to smile and actually give them a verbal greeting. On your website, the two most important pages are your mobile page and your landing page. Forecasting is that important fundamental that's going to help you find what the next best thing is if you'll talk to your customers and find out what's next with them. Why should an employer really care about or why should an employee really care about the employer's dreams and what they want to do if the employer don't care about the staff? And we'll get into this deeply next week. A substantial amount of a sustainable business can't be everything to all people, but it must be everything to some people. It can't be all things to all people, but it must be everything to some people. Those some people will become our Raven Fan customers. You can, and you'll learn tonight, that you can forecast how offers will go in a future negotiation. So the answer, will that be yes? It will be yes. When negotiating, we need to listen out for that aha moment, and when it comes, stop selling and start closing. Integrity cannot be compromised or replaced. There's no substitute for integrity. But sometimes we'll get confused when we're interviewing employees or talking to people, and we have to be careful not to let charisma become a substitute for character. Two different things altogether. We'll talk more about that in a future session too. And you know what? Kind of the bottom line is, people don't really care how much you know until they know how much you care. So that's our quizzes for this season. Read these through. It's in your handouts, and next week or the week after, I will send to you a blank quiz. I'll mix these question numbers around and maybe even change the wording a little bit. Ask you to fill in the blanks and send it back to me to qualify for your brand new certificate. Forecasting. How about that crystal ball? How many of you got a crystal ball sitting on your desk? Well, I don't, but I got a lot of paperwork here, and a lot of it has to do with forecasting. You don't need to be afraid of forecasting. And there's some people who just actually are, that are getting in the business, and they'll say, Steve, I'm afraid of forecasting because I just no way in the world can I tell what's going to be going on in the future. You know, I don't have an all-seeing eye. It's just a waste of time. I'm afraid of it. And when I'm doing it, it's distracting me from something that's real and tangible on my desk now. That's what I need to be working on. And I'm afraid of forecasting because it hurts my flexibility. If I've tried to forecast where I need to go and then kind of change my mind, I feel like I'm cheating myself. Well, what I want to tell you is forecasting cannot be considered a negative thing for an entrepreneur, because the right planning process will help you manage more effectively. Forecasting will help you manage more effectively. And I'm just not talking about sitting around guessing and wishing. I'm talking about writing it down and creating some structured planning. Talk to people, because collaboration with people who have been there and done that or have knowledge about what you need to know will help solve a lot of problems. So I want to encourage you tonight to get in the habit of planning and forecasting. It's a major move for someone that wants to be successful in business. So here we go. We don't call it spot on forecasting, and move forward from here, thinking about focusing how we're going to do this forecasting. We all have heard the word forecasting because it comes to us when we're talking about the weather all the time, where the thunderstorms that are coming or something else that's around the corner. So forecasting is not a new word for anyone. So let me see, mute some mics there. Thank you very much. Let me welcome Stephanie that's come on board, and Cindy. We're glad to have both of y'all on board. If you have any questions or want me to send information to you, just type it in the chat room and we'll do that. So what type of items will we be forecasting? Seasonal issues. And here's a good example. It's March and it's cold, but we know in April things are going to warm up and people are going to be shopping and buying different things than they are now. So we need to be forecasting how the seasons are going to affect our business and be ready for it when the time comes. The timing of marketing and getting our investment costs ready and forecast exactly which weekends we need to be ready to do this or that. And our staffing and training needs. Are we going to be ready for the business when it comes our way? And how much stock are we going to need to meet the number of turnovers that we have? So important. And all these are things that a good business person to be forecasting all the way. What's going to happen to our cash flow? I was just talking with Jack and Valerie that as these gas prices are going up now and probably going to go up significantly more, my customers, I don't sell hardly anything people have to have. I sell things that people want. So, and they buy it with their extra money. So I know that as gas prices go up, that extra money that I'm used to seeing people spend with me to buy new products is going to be short, and therefore I am forecasting right now that my new product sales, my whole goods, will probably go down or just stay level this year unless I do some really significant things. And sometimes there's not anything you can do if prices just go off the charts. But I also know that if people aren't buying new, they're using up their old stuff. And when they use their old tools or old implements, then I need to be ready to sell more parts. So hopefully I don't keep my business steady by focusing more of my market on getting parts business and less of my investment on selling new products, because you need to plan to spend your investment on fertile ground. Fertile ground for me this year is probably going to be part sales and not new product sales. So cash flow variances for your customers and yourself is really important. What new profit centers can you bring into the business to attract new customers? What's the new thing that you're not selling that you could be selling? Are you targeting customer groups? Is there a group of customers that maybe you can spend more attention with and do better? Forecast who they are. And then negotiating opportunities with every deal that you have to negotiate and close and work with the customer to try to get their business. Forecasting those negotiating opportunities is super important, and we don't spend the whole last hour of this presentation tonight talking about how to forecast those negotiations and do a better job. I can tell you that if you're not forecasting and trying real hard to do the best you can, this is the sign that will end up in front of your business. And I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm just telling you this is the way it is. Forecasting is so important. It's the difference in pulling the plug or keeping afloat. So very few people would dare to say that, but I've seen it through the years with so many people, good friends and pretty good businessmen and women who had to close their businesses because for one reason or another, they forgot to do the right forecasting and get their crystal ball out and do the best they could with it. So in looking at negotiating, which is maybe the most valuable thing that I can help teach or help you grab onto tonight, is listen to me. You can, the answer is yes. You can successfully steer and predict offers and feel more confident about how negotiations will go and flow. It's not something you have to be afraid of. And again, in the last hour, we'll really focus on this. In all of our sessions through the years, we talk about how great upselling is because you can stack your profits. It really moves your volume of sales up. You can package deals and you can sell impulse items. But to take advantage of upselling, and to take advantage of being able to say, and by the way, I've got this or I've got that, which leads to an upsell. No upselling happens unless you have done your job forecasting. It happens only with forecasting. So I would encourage all of you, and I see several of you that's with us tonight, and welcome to all of you. Special welcome to Natalie. Glad to have you on board tonight. And Cindy, in your business, for you to enjoy more and more and more upsells, we need to forecast how you can arrange your products in such a way that customers will buy one thing and then feel almost the impulse to go ahead and add this and add that to complete their sale, not because you're pressuring them, because you're helping them complete their sale for more 100% satisfaction. But it's all about forecasting what opportunities are for you. Now, what are the two most important tools for the forecaster? Number one is to have a journal, is to have a piece of paper and a pen or a computer file that you're keeping up with, and look at your calendar tonight, look at your calendar tomorrow, and start thinking about what's going to be happening in your business in April and in May and in June and all the way through, and start making notes. And then you can start preparing yourself for the future just with general good business logic and thinking. Now, on the side of safety, forecasting comes into play when I'm talking with you folks, helping them do their business plan or just getting started. We'll go through a general what's your business like, and then one of the questions I asked are, what are the risks? What are the biggest risks that you're going to take in your business? And you need to list down anything that you think that can make your business, that can hurt your business. And there's a lot of things that maybe because you hadn't been in business, you just don't know. Well, that's when you need to find someone like me or Jack or someone that's been around that you know, or people at the Small Business Center, and get a list of the risks involved with your business. And those people who have been there or watched other people know things that you don't know. And we'll put these different risks in categories, and then we'll try to figure out what the best risk management tool is that we can put in place. Now, here's an example. Most of us, one of the risks that we would have to be involved in our business, whatever it is, whether we're going to be driving having a truck company like Gary is, or a van business like Valerie, or buildings out like Cindy's got, fire is always the risk, right? Well, everybody usually says, well, my risk management tool is insurance. Well, that's probably true, and it's one of our risk management tools, but the value of this presentation is tonight that I want to tell you that your best risk management tools usually don't cost but very little, because the very best risk management tool that you can have against fire is proper employee training, is safety signs, or extinguishers in the right places, storage of different products safely, like flammable products. You put those in proper type of storage. And then generally fires are caused by poor housekeeping. So just keeping things cleaned up and trash picked up, and not letting stuff just lay around. And then we can get into serious risk management tools like a sprinkler system. And then last would be our insurance. Now here's the secret. Forecasting your risk and taking care of them with these inexpensive, common sense things will make your insurance policy go down, down, down. Not doing these other things make your insurance policies go up, up, up. Because your insurance policy, when you have a business, will be based on your risk, number one, but number two is how well you're managing those risks. So risk management can save you lots of money, not only in losses and lost profits and time and energy, but also risk management can save you a lot of money with your insurance premium. Find someone that's been there and done that and just have a risk conversation about them. Now, you can go to any independent insurance agent who does business insurance and tell them what kind of business you're in, and on their computer they can type in risk management for a certain type of business, and they'll give you a long printout of all the things that you might be aware of and careful about, because that's what insurance companies are. They are ensuring how well you're doing risk management, okay? And forecasting is a major, major play in that. Now, leaving risk down, let's go talking about marketing strategies, because that's where our main bread and butter comes from, where our cash flow comes from, right? So tomorrow, what can you be thinking about in the forecasting mode? What new type of thinking do you need to be thinking about? Well, again, we're going to talk about the calendar and the seasons. Let's think about what your competition's been doing, and you've noticed them doing it for years. It's time now to start making a note of what they're doing, because next year you may want to be doing the same thing. You want to use good information you're gathering today to forecast how you're going to act in the future. Maybe you want to do some layaway plans or add more impulse buyer items to bring people in. Maybe your staff needs more training, and definitely your marketing plan needs some attention. Why? Why do we do this? Why am I concerned about it? After 62 years in business, why is forecasting still on my mind to keep my little business going? Because I want to have the right product at the right quality and style and size. I want that product here at the right time so I can get the highest retail price for it. But I want to forecast ahead, so far ahead that I can buy it at the lowest cost possible. And when I do have it and it's ready to sell, I've got good risk management tools in place so that if I don't sell all the items that I have ordered in, I've got a way to liquidate them and get my cost out of them if the market cools down. Good example is right now with these increasing gas prices and people worried about the economy and inflation, it's perfectly fine to have a big inventory of items provided you had ordered them in anticipating that it would sell big in March and April, but now these gas prices may make you have to sit on them, or you don't have to worry about going out of business if you know you can liquidate it and get your money out of it. All that is part of what we're doing with the forecasting, and I'll show you some good insight into that now. What you need to know is that marketing doesn't start with an ad campaign. Marketing does not start with an ad campaign. Your marketing started a long time ago when you decided that you wanted to sell this product or provide this service. Now, don't use any example, pumpkins. Now, all the pumpkins are gone now, right? They're not on the lots anymore. The roadside stands have no pumpkins left. All the extra pumpkins have been fed to all the pig farms around in eastern North Carolina. But I want to tell you, next October and November, the places will be full of pumpkins. And that's not going to happen. I'm forecasting it's going to happen because of this. The pumpkins that are on the lots next October and November, displayed then and transported in September, were harvested in August and September. And the arrangements for all that, getting the labor to come in and the transport was made in July. And the growers were putting chemicals and fertilizers on those plants in April. And today in March, no, flip the scene now, today in March, the farmers will be out in the field in the next 3 or 4 weeks, leveling up the ground and tilling up the fields to grow pumpkins that we will see in the market next October and November. Now, those fields were set aside in January. And back in December, last December, brokers were signing contracts with people to grow pumpkins for them that aren't going to be harvested until August. Yeah, to see a crop come through, especially in agriculture, long-range plans have to be made. So the earlier that you can forecast what all's got to be done and who all you're going to have to deal with, the better the chances are you're going to make better deals and end up making more money. Waiting until the last minute to make business decisions is the best way to make bad decisions. Planning and forecasting ahead of time is the best way to make good decisions. Now just settle back and look at your handout and just kind of take this in. I'm going to go through it pretty quickly because I'm going to get to the bottom line pretty quickly. But let's say that pumpkins are selling for $10. Well, whoever buys those pumpkins have to figure out what they can pay for them to end up with a profit, right? So there's a lot of hidden cost in everything. There's a lot of hidden cost in whatever you're going to do. The brokers, the supply, the banker gets some of the money. The farmer makes $1.50 on a $10 pumpkin. The equipment and the trucks and the freight, the migrant labor to come and pick it up, and the crews, they get 50 cents per pumpkin. With the bottom line, the total cost that the wholesaler paid was $3.58. If you add up all this little items that different people got, different people that had to be dealt with and planned for, they got $3.58 for a pumpkin that's going to sell for $10. Well, that looks like there's a gross profit there of $6.48. That's pretty good, isn't it? Well, it's out of this world. So let's take it to the next step. Let's take that $6.42 and see what other costs are involved. Yeah, there's always a cost of doing business or overhead. So the broker's overhead cost was 12%. I got $1.20. And he knows that when you're handling pumpkins and storing them, you don't get spoilage. They don't get cracked. They don't go rotten. If you don't have straw, if you don't do this or that, you're going to lose 20%. 20% of your pumpkins to spoilage and handling. That's $2.51. And he's going to do some advertising. He's going to spend 5% on advertising. Then he's going to have to pay some taxes on his profits. So his net profit on that $10 pumpkin is $1.65. Well, that don't look so hot, does it? Well, the reality of it is, it's all about volume here. There's some items that you're never going to make a big home run on one item. The key is how much volume you can sell, provided you can turn it over. So he's done his homework, and this is what a broker would do, and this is his way of forecasting or doing his business plan. So we figured out that he's going to come down to $1.65 compared to the $3.58 that he paid for it now. Let's go back to the $3.58. That's a 46% return on investment, and that looks pretty darn good, doesn't it? Well, it is pretty darn good, 46%. But the key is it's a large percentage, but we're only dealing with $1.65 per pumpkin. So next step is, how many pumpkins do I need to sell, making $1.65 to end up making it worth my while? So the wholesaler, the fellow that's going to sell these pumpkins, looked around at his different markets and saw how many other people were selling, and that's what you would be doing if you're planning on introducing something new, is take an estimate on how many items are being sold in your area now and how many you can sell. So he determined he could sell 2,000 pumpkins at a price range of from $1 to $10 a piece. So that's an average of $5 a piece, right? So 2,000 pumpkins times $5 a piece, that means he's going to bring in a $10,000 investment, or that's what he's going to have to make. So his business plan indicates that if he invests $10,000, he should get back $4,600 based on the numbers that we just ran. And that's after taxes, $4,600. So that's not so bad, is it? Well, he achieved that and says, okay, I don't go with this only because he did his forecasting, put it in business plan form or a model form, and to come up with his potential profit. This is the way you would do an advanced business plan through forecasting. But now let's take it to the next step, and why I'm so excited to share this with you is because I know, after being in business a long time, that with forecasting and a little bit of experience and some good risk management work and keeping my sales volume up, I can make one change. If I can reduce that spoilage, from 20% to 10%, I will see my profits go from $4,600 to $7,200. That's right. Instead of investing $10,000 and making $4,600, I can invest $10,000 and bring back in $7,200 by reducing that spoilage. Now, there's a lot of difference there. How do you reduce spoilage? You handle them easier. You put straw under them. You make sure you stay away from the bumps. You stack them properly. There's a lot of ways that you can make changes to reduce losses, not only handling pumpkins, but any other business. So the experienced business person might look at an operation that's doing pretty good, and because of experience and forecasting, turn a pretty good operation into a great operation. And that's why I get excited about teaching and preaching forecasting to you guys. You got to start with a bargaining mindset, because bargaining is what it's all about. So the answer to everything we're talking about tonight is extreme preparation. Nothing's going to happen by itself. We have to sit down and work it through and plan it for things to work. You can make a lot more money for yourself doing good preparation than you can pressure washing your truck or doing this and that work or messing with your website. Oftentimes, you're so much better off to hire somebody to do those things that are taking up so much of your time, and you work on your forecasting and marketing and selling. Focused forecasting will give you the flow of events. Will show the outline of how bidding goes, and if you in negotiating, you can even forecast how the concessions would go and flow. So we're going to talk about that now. Negotiating sequence. I've got the word here outlining, but we're going to outline our forecast. Forecasting it and writing it down in outline form. That is the extreme preparation that we do when we go into a serious negotiation, or when we're thinking about putting together our business plan and we're weighing out our options and our goals. Okay, that's plenty of talk on my part. Now let's just settle down and think about some simple numbers here. Get your pad out. For the next few minutes, I'm going to give you the opportunity to write down some numbers. If you printed out your handout, you can just use that. So let's say that you want to buy something, okay? And the most that you can spend is $70,000. But they're offering it for $80,000. They put a price tag on it at $80,000. So this is just an everyday expense. It might have been $8,000 or $7,000. It might be $8 or $7, but we're going to use the numbers. $80,000 is the asking price, but all you have is $70,000. So do you just walk away from that and don't make an offer because you want it, and $70,000 is a good price to pay for it? No, don't walk away from a high price tag, because here I am telling you that people that are in business selling have room to negotiate. And those that do not, eventually they will come down on the price, maybe not now, but you just keep in mind on it. But never walk away from something you want because the price was too high without making an offer. You just don't know what's in the other person's mind, but you know what you can do, and always go for a good deal. So what is your first offer on this? What's your logic? Well, I will say that the most you can spend is $70,000, and I would encourage you, even though they're asking $80,000 for it, is you go up and you talk to them and you be interested in it, and you just say, you know, I might pay $50,000 for that. $50,000 sounds pretty reasonable for me, especially in today's market. Well, do you think that's going to make them mad? No. People want a first offer. And if it does make them mad, well, you hadn't lost anything. It didn't cost you any money. And they're not really mad. They just might be disappointed because they had their stuff so overpriced. But you need to offer $50,000 if you don't have the $70,000 to spend. And why is that? You want them to come down at least $10,000, and you think they've got it marked up at least $10,000. And if they come down $10,000 to $70,000, then you can go up 10 to $60,000 would be your next offer. And you know what? You may get the deal at 60. You would never get the deal at 60 if you hadn't offered 50. That's what bargaining is about. That is forecasting in advance how a negotiation would go. So when you saw that $80,000 price tag, you had two choices to make. Saying, oh gosh, that's $10,000 more than I can spend. I just might as well go away. Or, wow, if I can buy that for $70, I don't have a good deal. Well, the way you buy it for $70 is to offer $50. Because if you go up there and offer $70,000 for it, you know what their best offer is going to be to you? $75. And you can't negotiate at $75 because you're already over your limit. Okay, you get that gist? Now let's say you're selling something. you're selling something and you want to sell it for at least $18,500. That's what's in your mind. And someone comes up to it and you just got a for sale sign on it without a price, and they offer you $16,000 for it. They offered you $16,000 and you really are determined that the least you're going to take is $18,500. So, my friend, Gary, Jack, what would be your offer? What would be your counter offer if they came to you and offered you $16,000? Valerie, what do you think? How about it, April? Stephanie? Well, if they offered 16 and you want at least 18.5, I would suggest that your counter offer or your initial price should be, well, I appreciate that $16,000 offer that you gave me, but I need $22,000 for it. 22 is a very reasonable price, I think. Wow, that's a lot of money higher, isn't it? There, that's $6,000 more. Well, what's the logic on that? The logic is that you want them to come up at least $2,500. They need to come up $2,500 for you to get to $18,500, right? So you need to start out $3,500 so that if y'all split the difference or find a common ground in the middle at $19,000, you'll still be $500 above what your bottom dollar is and still have room to negotiate. These are all numbers, but you know what? This is the way it works, especially on bigger ticket items and sometimes on smaller items, even if it's concessions that you're working with on real little items. This kind of logic is what helps you find common ground with a customer and close a deal. So just because they offered $16,000, the last thing you want to do is say, oh, heck no, I could never take that. That's a ridiculous offer. No, get out of here. No, you're in business to sell. So it's up to you to say yes, if, and no, but, and say, you know, I appreciate that offer. You always appreciate the offer. You never be disappointed because someone made you an offer. But you know, if you're going to offer 16, I think I need to start at 22,000. The key, you pick up the word I need to start at. So you sent them a signal that you're starting at 22,000, but you've got room to negotiate. How about that? Well, if they came in and they had plenty of room, you know they got more money, or you hope they do because they offered you 16,000. So hopefully they got more. You gave them an offer that if they split the difference or bumped it up a little bit, you know that you could eventually get to your 18.5. It's all like you're playing chess, but you're planning in advance, and that's the key to what we need to do. Rolanda, glad to have you on board tonight. Glad to see you here. Let's talk about selling some cars. And we're going to move this pretty quickly. This is in your handout. But here's the logic. You need to have a high price if you want to end up with where you want to end up at. So you've got a low price. Your lowest selling price is $13,000 on the car. The blue book value on it, or the fair market value, is $12,000. So remember, you're always trying to sell above fair market value. That's what we do as entrepreneurs. So if you want to end up getting $13,000, you're going to set your price at $17,000. $17,000, not $13,000, which is your low price. You need to set your price at $17,000. Why? Because if you're at $17,000, probably the first offer that a buyer is going to offer to you is $11,000. If they are a serious buyer, they know that the fair market value is $12,000, and they know that they want to buy below fair market value, so they're going to offer you $11,000. I can just tell you that's what it is when you're in the market all the time. And if they offer you $11,000, you see what they did? You see what they did? You want to think they were going $1,000 below fair market value, so you're going to basically come down $1,000 in your first offer and offer to sell at $16,000. Well, you came down $1,000 bucks. Well, the least they can do on the second offer is to go up $500, and if they go up $500, you can come down $500, right, to $15,500. And if you were here and they split the difference with you, that offer will be $13,500. That's $500 above where you wanted to end up, and you've got to deal with an extra $500 in it. You would not have gotten that deal at 13.5 if you had not started out as 17. That's what forecasting, the way a negotiation goes. Let's sell some real estate. Your lowest price is $80,000. The tax listing is $97,000. You can take below tax listing here, but still you're going to price it at $107,000. Why? Because your first offer from a buyer is going to be below fair market value, and usually in real estate around $20,000 below what you're asking. It's kind of the norm. So when they offer 72, you're going to come back at 99. You came down there about $8,000. And their second offer, if you came down 8, they will go up 8 and offer you around 80,000 on their second round. And if they do that, you still can come down another 9,000, another 8,000, and your second counter offer would be 91. By doing that, you have room now to find common ground at 85.5 and close the deal. 85.5 is $500 more than what you were shooting for. You would have never gotten 85.5 if you hadn't started out at 107. This is the lesson. This is the plan. This is the message. Figure out where you need to end up and then forecast a plan of bids and counteroffers to help you end up with what you need to have. So now we're going to do some actual work on y'all's part. Here's the information you need. In other words, you're going to write the numbers down after this. We're going to sell some property. The tax value on the property is $158,000. That's fair market value. You owe $80,000 on that property. You've got that much debt. And you want to sell it. You've determined that you need to get $165,000 when you sell it. These are the givens. You got that? Draw circles around those numbers on your sheet. 158, 80, 165. Little information here. You recently redid your kitchen and den and put $30,000 cash in it. You put a new roof on it, put some new shingles and roof repairs, spent $8,000 on it, and you added a swimming pool for $20,000. So recently you've improved the property as you went, right? Okay, $30,000 in the kitchen, $8,000 in the roof, and $20,000 more. That was your upgrade to the property. In your neighborhood, other similar houses have been selling right along, so these are coming up with your comps or your comparisons, your averages. And several have sold. One for $148, one for $168, one for $153, and one for $163. You see, in real estate, to come up with an estimate or an appraisal, it has everything to do with what other houses in the area are selling for. And then you do the comparisons to see if they need to be adjusted up or down. So my question to you is, number one, in your property you're selling, are you upside down or not? Are you upside down? And in selling, that's important. When you're upside down, that means that you owe more on it than it's worth. All right? Number two, what is the fair market value of your property? What is the fair market value? Now, in real estate, you can pretty much look at the tax values, and that will be the fair market value because it was established by professional appraisers. So that's two questions I want you to answer. Are you upside down? And what is the fair market value? And I've already given you the answers before. Now, fill in these blanks. Based on what you've learned so far, what will be your advertised price? And then what will be your first counter offer? And your second counter offer? What will be the buyer's first offer to start the negotiation? What is the fair market value? And what will be the buyer's second offer? So this is if you're selling real estate, or pretty much anything else, and you want to plan how this negotiation is going to go, this is the kind of sheet that you would fill out. Now, when I'm doing these classes in a webinar form, I'd have all over the chalkboards, and we'd be going back and forth trading numbers and having some fun showing each other. But the bottom line is, I need to know maybe what your numbers are and show you what mine are. So, are you upside down? No. What's the fair market value? $158,000. What would be your advertised price? I'd recommend $179,900. And $179,900, I think that the buyer's first offer would be $151,000. And if they went to $151,000, I would offer $170,000. And I came down, you see, I came down $9,000. So I come back and see what their second offer would be. They'd probably go up $9,000 to $160,000. I'd come to $165,000, and we'd probably be able to do business at the price that we needed to do it at, right? We'd probably be able to close. Lesson learned. Professionals will always build in negotiation and bargaining room in your advertised price. Always negotiate for the best deal you can get. Even though they have made an offer that is maybe right where you needed to be, just absolutely what you should do is to come back and even make a counter offer to see if you can improve your profits. Just because you got to the point that you said this is my bottom line or this is where I wanted to be and they got there, a good business person, a great entrepreneur is going to go the extra mile, going to be extraordinarily and negotiate for even more. And let me tell you, my friends, oftentimes you'll be able to pay your wages with the extras that you're able to negotiate. The worst thing you can do is to price whatever you're selling too low. Always remember you can come down, but you can't go up with your prices. And never enter a negotiation without a plan B. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Always do that. Own extreme preparation, and you'll be a lot better off. So tomorrow night, we're going to be talking about cash flow management, and you're all welcome to attend. And then next week, we're going to be talking about how to find and train, retain and keep the best employees, and also how to become a dream manager, which will be very exciting for you. Remember that whatever you're doing, every moment matters, and you've got to live your legacy. Let me stop the recording here. Welcome to the Academy of Entrepreneurs and Associates. I'm Steve Carver. I'm not a lawyer or an accountant, just offering you free advice and look forward to working for you. This is a part of a 10-part series called Raising the Bar in 2022. And now we're going to be talking about negotiating. We're really going to talk about negotiating, so I want you to put your thinking cap on, get comfortable, get you a glass of tea if you'd like, because what we're after here is increased sales, higher profits at less stress, okay? Increased sales, higher profit at less stress. Now I get to introduce a brand new drill skill to you. We've got 40 of them now. If you hope to succeed as a negotiator, you must always do what? Extreme preparation. Not just preparation, but extreme preparation. Forecasting successful negotiations will help you do this. You can own the preparation. You can target goals and pricing terms, do introductions. You'll find out that where the right seating is for you to be. Make sure your documents are a work of art. You'll have a list of frequently asked questions. You'll predetermine your bargaining ranges, just like we had talked about in the last session. And you'll have a roadmap. When you map it all down, you'll have a roadmap of how the offers will go and come, just like we did in the last session. Remember, though, a negotiator needs a secret weapon. Always have something up your sleeve. And when you're negotiating, your best secret weapons are always the value-added features. What can you offer that your competition's not offered? Or what can you offer that's not going to cost you any real money, but that's really going to help your negotiating partner feel like that this is the deal I got to go with. Here's a fact. Through negotiation, an entrepreneur, especially a new entrepreneur, will be able to save 5 to 10% on everything that you buy. 5 to 10%. And when you're selling, you'll be able to keep 10 to 15% more of your profits by being able to negotiate better. That means that you'd have a net advantage just through negotiating at 15 to 25%. Now, here's a fact. A lot of companies don't make 15 to 25%. And those companies that do not, if the owners of them would learn how to negotiate better, there's a good chance they'd still be in business and making a pretty darn reasonable profit. And if you happen to be lucky enough or fortunate enough or you plan well enough to be in a business that your profits are well above 25% already, by improving and enhancing your negotiating skills, you may see that just skyrocket. So how do I know that? Because I've seen it happen so many times through the years. You can be a successful negotiator if you dig into what we're getting ready to talk about during the next hour. There's 9 fundamentals about negotiating. And there's a lot of paperwork that I've sent to you, important paperwork that you have to read because this is serious stuff. This is like you don't get a medical degree and become a doctor without doing some studying and practicing. You don't become a good negotiator without doing some studying and practicing. 9 fundamentals. Let's go through them very quickly, but I want you to read them at your own pace later and let it sink in. First of all, your negotiating partners, the people you're working with, have to like you. Number 2, never give up anything unless you're getting something in return. Always make the other party give you the first serious offer. You want them to make you the first offer. That way you can plan how the negotiation can go. Stay focused and remember plan B is very important. Plan B is having a place you can go and where you know you can buy or sell what you're after here, and you take that good figure and then you start negotiating from there. It's always good to use what I call the Sampson County poor mouthing tactic, which is saying, are you sure this is your best price? I just can't pay that. Always ask if this is your best price. At some point, you need to find middle ground. At some point, you need to start trying to move the pendulum, move these people towards you or you move towards them. Nothing happens with a stalemate. Remember that yes, if, and no but are a way to have a good negotiation. You don't close the deal. You don't stop the process as long as you think there's any hope. You keep talking, you keep hope, and you try to close the deal. Understand and work for the best terms that you can get. Sometimes the best price is not the best deal. Sometimes the best terms, the best deposit, the best delivery, the best service that comes with it, the best warranty. Lots of other things can play into negotiations besides price, which means that you've got plenty of room. If one person's just hung up on a price, then you might be able to work a deal by looking at the other terms. Understand how deposits work. Understand that some deposits are not returnable, some deposits are interest-bearing, some deposits have more power than others. Sometimes you can take a lot less deposit and close a deal. Sometimes you can get deposits in different payments. So understand how to make the deposits work for you. Now, tonight's presentation is going to talk about the 23 negotiation tactics employees that are pretty much studied by every college in the world if you go to a business school. The people that's negotiating the war over in Ukraine tonight, the people that's negotiating oil prices, the people that's negotiating union terms. Negotiators use these 23 tactics employees, and they study them and study them and study them, and a professional negotiator can name them off to you backwards, sideways, upside down. I want you to hang on to them. Tonight we're going to name all 23, but we're going to focus on 10. First of all, though, before we get into the tactics employees, rule number 1 is always have a plan B. And professionally, that is a BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement. That is to say that I know where I can buy a pickup truck for $22,000 that suits my needs. Now I'm going to go out and search for better deals And the place that what I'm looking for is something better than $22,000. And I'll keep working for that, and that will be my plateau to start from. And if I find someone that comes under the $22,000, I'm going to remember that integrity comes into play here. I owe it to someone that gave me that first good figure to go back to them and let them know that you're serious and you'd like to do business with them, but you just got a better offer, and you wanted to see if they wanted to negotiate to see if they could win your order at a lower price. Always give someone the chance to give you a second revisit. Okay. So before we get into it, remember to have a plan B, and don't get in a big hurry, because the better plan B you have, the better position you are. Flinching and silence are two important ones. We'll come back to these. Bad cop, good cop. That's a negotiating ploy that when two people are on the same team negotiating with another party, one person will act like they like you, the other person will act like they hate you, and they'll use their attitudes and different things they say to try to work the person on your side of the table to come down to a lower price. Some folks do this really well, especially husband and wife teams. Sometimes father and son teams do a good job playing bad cop and good cop. Fait accomplished, or using the threat or about continuous activities is a very common ploy that folks use. Here's a good example. President Putin in Russia is using the threat of nuclear weapons, just the threat of it, to make his position more powerful in prosecuting his war. That's a great example. We don't know if he's going to use nuclear weapons or not, but he has threatened, and because of that, everybody else has backed off and given him a free hand. I don't know how long that's going to last, but his negotiation tactic there is certainly working tonight. Divide and conquer is always a plan where that if I can figure out how to divide the people on the other side, then I can move forward. Again, we can use Putin as an example. He's doing that really well by trying to divide the Europeans against the Americans and back and forth. So big negotiating ploy. Pen and price increase we'll talk about later. Now, a good negotiating tool that you can use when you're talking with someone is to say to them, "Oh man, your offer looks really good, but there are so many offers out here in the world. As a matter of fact, I can go on the internet and get 10,000 offers tonight. So why in the world should I do business with you? Because I know I can find one for a lower price." That's called the Noah's Ark way of negotiating, and it's very effective. That people like to use it very often, especially with the internet now, because the internet is a Noah's Ark, isn't it? No doubt about it. Some people will say, "I'll take you up on your offer, but you need to pay me right now. You need to pay me right now." In the books and the college text, they call it the call girl negotiating ploy, because you have to pay in advance. But the deal is, you're saying to someone, "I'll meet your terms if you pay cash for me right now." So why would you give someone a concession if they pay you cash? Well, first of all, you had left yourself room to come in with a cash offer. You're still going to make what you want, provided you set your price up high enough. And every time you give yourself another little chance negotiating realm to do things, you can use a different ploy that may or may not work with the person you're working with. Bad publicity is one where folks are negotiating with another side. Say, you know, all my tractors in this neighborhood are Alice Chalmers, and if I buy a John Deere from this other fella, that's going to look really bad on you, Steve, because you're selling Kubota and Alice Chalmers, and there's going to be a green tractor out here instead of an orange one. That'll be bad publicity for you. It's a very effective way a lot of people do negotiating, called the bad publicity. Testing the waters we'll talk about later. End run we'll talk about later. Bet and switch, we'll do that too. Red herring. Red herring is basically when I'm saying, "Hey, look at this red herring," instead of looking at this. The red herring is to say, get the customer's eye off the ball. You get them to focus on something that looks really good while you do not talk about something that looks really bad. So it's setting up a false trail for their eyes to follow to distract them, and that's called the red herring process of getting their eye off the ball. Some customers are really good. They get into a negotiation and they just blow up. You've seen and heard of some people, especially politicians, that if things aren't going their way, they just act like they get mad as Hades and blow up and leave the room and have a big temper flare, which means nothing happens. They don't lose the negotiation. They may not win it, but they stopped it if it was going the wrong way. In my opinion, that's a very tacky way to do business. However, there are a lot of people that will use that and use it quite effectively. Faking identity is a common ploy used by folks who come into a business and pretend that they've got the authority to buy something. And they'll negotiate with you and do this and that, and you'll give them your best price and such, and then right at the end they say, well, you know, really, I don't have the authority to do this. I don't really own a trucking company. I'm just thinking about buying one, but I wanted to talk to you about it, so just trying to get your best price that I could. Well, that's faking an identity, and it's a pretty good ploy if they're out trying to get their plan B, okay? And that's one way that you might get your plan B if you're just getting started. Now, I've negotiated with you, but I can't make this decision. I got to go home and talk to my wife or my daddy or my partner or the president of the company. In other words, I have limited authority. I have a limited authority to do this deal, and therefore I can't close the deal with you. I can always guarantee you that someone that's going to come back to you with an offer from someone else is going to be a lower offer. So this is a negotiating ploy that folks use. The way you get around this on the other side of the fence is you would say to people when you start negotiating with them, if you kind of sense this may be the case, you say, now look, are you going to be in a position to close the deal today if I give you my very best price? In other words, can you close the deal? Can you say, yes, let's do it? And by doing that, most of the time, 95% of the time, folks will be honest with you and say, yes, sir, I've got authority to make the deal. If they do, then you move forward. If they don't, then you always hold back one or two offer ranges or concessions that you might be able to make. Because when they come back from that higher authority, someone's going to try to get you down or up on your price. Other folks may say, you know, this isn't going my way. I think we ought to delay this, maybe just put it off another month or two. Let's don't do that. Now, what they're doing is trying to get you to lower your price or give a concession because you really want the deal, and they're using your hotness for it or your hunger for it to make you offer them a concession simply by them saying, let's not do this now. I've waited this long. I can wait a little longer. Nibbling will come back to, and splitting the difference will come back to. Burst a bubble. That's a concession that's just coming, or a ploy that's coming into effect recently. That's where someone says, you know, before, you know, I'd kind of like to buy this from you, but I don't make you an offer that's way below what you're asking, but I don't want to waste my time. Do you still want me to make that offer? What that person is trying to do is to deflate your anticipation on getting what you want for it, which is a good ploy. But you, as the person selling, needs to know that you say, yes, please make me the offer, because you don't know what the offer is going to be, and they don't know what your position is either. It's a good thing for them to do that. It's not a bad thing, but what you don't want to say is, no, don't send me a lowball offer. I'm not going to consider it. Wrong. You're going to consider every offer that comes your way and appreciate the fact, because you don't ever know. When you come back with your counter, you may have a sale. Here's kind of an example in left field. 3 weeks ago, I had a really busy day and a lot of quotations I was getting out. People wanting to buy equipment from me. And I sent in emails out with all the quotes. And that takes a lot of time, a lot of stress, a lot of number crunching. So I finished out all my mail, and then I looked over it and I said, well, you know, I hadn't checked my spam file today. So I went over to my email spam file, you know, the junk mail. And there was one in there that was in the spam file, and it just said, please quote this, this, and this. Here's my zip code. Usually when I get those, it's people that's not really interested or whatever, and it ended up in spam, which I didn't know if it was real or not. But you know what? I went ahead and answered it just like it was a person that had called me on the phone. I gave them my full sales pitch on an email that was addressed to dear customer, I don't know your name yet. I had his email address and where he was from. So I filled out my template with my quote, gave him a quotation and sent it on. And you know what? Within 10 minutes after I sent that email to that customer, he had called me back and given me his credit card number and placed an order. Well, I took it when I got that spam email like this ain't no really happening. It's kind of busted my bubble for all the work I do for quoting. But when I sent it back to him and closed the deal, it renewed my faith in never turn your back on a potential offer. And when someone asks you for a quote on the internet, you've got a chance to make that offer. So take it serious. So, and number 21 is an important strategy. We'll talk about that later. Number 22 is called the quivering quill. The quivering quill is that, let's put that out here like you're fishing. You're fishing and someone is nibbling at your bait. You're negotiating, they're interested in it, and such as that. Okay? But now you've got a chance that you see a chance that they are in line of the hook and you pull it back. In other words, you try to set the hook. And you do that sometimes by saying, you know, you've been talking about buying this laptop from me and I really want to sell it to you. If you'll give me the order right now, I'll throw in the bag and I'll throw in an extra mouse. In other words, you sense that they're ready to bite the hook, and you give them a value-added option and try to set the hook. That is, you're sitting there waiting for that bite. Just think about a bobber bobbing on top of the pond, and you're ready to set the hook. Always have something ready that you can offer a value-added concession to them that doesn't cost you hardly anything, but helps you nail down the deal. That's the quivering quill. Trial balloon we'll talk about in a minute. So that was the 23. Now let's go back and really dig into the top 10. Flinching. Flinching is a fantastic ploy to use when you're negotiating. So picture your hand right there, lay it on the mouse trap, and it's getting ready to pop down on your fingers, and it's going to hurt, right? You need to give the impression that when that person gives you the price or tells you their side of the fence, that mouse trap just closed on your hand and you go, oh, like it really hurt you. What they said actually caused you pain, and you used the drama in it. Remember Fred Sanford, who was the junk man, Sanford and Son? This is what you're doing. You're flinching. You make that sign. And lots of times when you do that, and ladies do it by holding their hands up by their eyes or doing this or breathing heavy or just kind of crunching your shoulders like, man, that really hurt what you said. And an experienced negotiator on the other side will automatically drop the price on it or give you a concession that didn't cost you a penny. You actually want to say in your flinching, oh man, what you said hurt my feelings. Oh my gracious, that hurt. You don't have to say anything. You just show it or put your hands or your body in a position to send that message. Remember that, what do we call that with communications? Non-verbal communications can say so much when you're negotiating. So flinching is a physical and negative reaction to what the side said about their concession. So what's your response to that? If someone's doing that to you, you just ignore it or you smile at them and you might say, man, that's the best flinching I've ever seen in a negotiation. So you can counteract it if you're a professional, and the people on the other side will respect you for it and probably help you along in the deal. Number 2, just plain silence. Give them the silent treatment. When they give you that concession or say something to you in the negotiating, just say nothing and stare at them. Now, we all, from one of our family members or another, have had the silent treatment put on us, right? So you know what I'm talking about. In other words, you don't say anything, you just look. Like, are you stupid? Why would someone ever say that or make that offer to me? You don't say that. You just look at them and you send that nonverbal communication to their way, and there's a good chance after a while, and you don't stop. You don't say anything. You wait for them, because when they do say something, it's probably going to be, well, what can I do to make this thing work for us? Or let's move forward. Tell me what I need to say. Okay? It really works. It really works well. So when someone's giving you the silent treatment, don't worry about your watch. You just say, well, when you're ready, I'm ready. I've got a good offer here for you. Let's move on with it. But if you're on the other side of the fence, you're in no hurry to start talking because you're waiting for them to say the magic words, which is, I'm going to offer you a better deal. Don't underestimate the power of this. It is really a good tool. It really makes some people feel uncomfortable. And again, the professional negotiators, you're not going to move them off their target with it. But an inexperienced one, you can make a lot of progress. Pending price increases is a huge, powerful way to negotiate now. If you're selling a product, it's perfectly fine and legal for you to say, you probably want to go ahead and let's close this deal now because tomorrow's going to be prices are going to be higher. This week I told a fellow in Washington State that my quote I was sending to him had $1,300 in shipping costs. And the rate that shipping costs are going up, which is absolutely true, next week this time, that shipping cost is going to be $1,700 because of fuel prices going up in the trucking industry. So be aware of little negotiating tools that you can use, and it's up to you to use them. You're not threatening. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just making the customer away. You don't want to act pushy with it, but just state the facts and see if you can use all the negotiating skills that you have to close a deal. The comparison to Noah's Ark in this time of the internet, as I said earlier, is so important. And don't be afraid to use this, but you need to be ready to counter it if you're the person that's doing the selling and someone says, but there's so many other offers out there. That's when you need to be ready and know that's going to be coming at you when you're able to bring in the value added. Yes, but I'm here to serve you. Yes, but I got a parts department. You don't know those other people, and I've been here for 63 years. Give them the reasons they should go ahead and give you the order instead of the thousands of other people on the internet. End run. End run is a really good way to close a deal when you're negotiating. In football, the end run is when this is the quarterback here. He starts out right here. He starts around the end, but he tosses the ball back to a halfback back here, and he's trying to get around the end because if they can do this blocking and this fella can get around the end, he can go for a touchdown. In other words, instead of going up the middle like most of us do with our sales, we're going to come up with an end run to put us around the corner before people realize what happened, or we just offer them something they've never seen before. And the best way to do that in today's world is to offer a bundle, a surprise bundle or an upsell opportunity where they were focused on getting this one major thing, but when you bundle it together and offer them a package, it is so beautiful that they go ahead and move forward with it. Now, here's an example. This is somebody else's ad, so I'm not trying to sell you my stuff. If I was just trying to sell you this tractor for $27,000, and we just wasn't getting anywhere, then if I think about it, and I'd done this in advance called forecasting, I don't have a package deal ready for this customer where I'm going to bring him not only the tractor, but all these other implements for $28,895. In other words, he's going to get $10,000 more worth of stuff for $2,000, or that's the way it appears. When you're putting a bundle together, that's the way you do it. So I always know that sometimes we get so hung up in trying to sell the tree that we could sell the whole forest if we would package it in the right way. And that's a great way to negotiate. Bait and switch. It's been used forever, and it's not a very a nice thing to talk about, but I want to tell you, you have to do it. In the marketing world today, with some people that are out here to buy cheap, and other people that are going to pay the biggest price they can find for something, all that room in the middle puts the retailer in a position to say, well, bait and switch is a good working answer for me. What you're doing is you're offering your customer something that looks very attractive at a very reasonable price to bait them to come in, to bait them to come into your store, to bait them to call you or to send you an email. But you're basically fishing is what you're doing. You're putting that bait out there to draw people in, and then once they get there, You're going to tell them about what is the standard equipment with the bait, but you're going to offer other items that they may want to buy. In other words, this again is all about upselling. Baiting with the low price and then upselling with the value-added items to the bigger price. So what you're doing is you're saying to the market as a whole, I've got something here for you. Bait and switch is a way that you bring the entire market, all the customer groups, into your marketing plan, where if you're just going for the high price with all the features on it, then you're going to leave out a lot of people that will never come and talk to you. Remember what I said earlier on that $22,000 deal. You didn't have but 18. Well, if that deal at $22,000 also had another car there that was priced very similar to it for $15,000, and you had 18, you'd probably come over and talk about it, and then you'd be able to see the other items that we had to sell. So bait and switch takes a negative content with a lot of people, but I want to tell you as a retailer, it is a very valuable tool to use, especially when you're negotiating. Nibbling is used on me all the time and will be used on you if you're in business. Just like this squirrel right there, nibble, 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 nibble. They just sit there all day long and just keep nibbling. Well, customers will sit there and nibble on you after you thought you had closed a deal. They'll figure out a way to get you to throw in stuff, to add this and add that, saying, well, you said we were going to have this and we were going to have that, like a car. I thought I got that Cyrus subscription, or free hubcaps, or free mats, free oil changes. All that was part of my deal, right. And everything you agree to is going to cost you more money. In other words, if you let somebody keep nibbling on you, your profits are going to go down the drain, because professional nibblers will eat up your profits. So how do you fight that, Steve? What you do is, if you're on the selling side, and you agree at a price, you write that price down and circle it and say, let's initial right here. And then when they start nibbling, then you say, well, sure, I can do that if you'll ante up a little bit more. Or no, I can't do it unless you ante up a little bit more. In other words, every time you start nibbling, you don't have to start anteing up some more money. There's no free ride, but you have to set the stage. When you close your deal, you circle the price, initial it, and then that stops the nibbling. On your side of the fence, if you're working with someone that y'all agree on a price but do not close the deal, and there is a difference, agreeing on the price to talk about but not closing the deal, which is actually you shaking hands or signing the contract, or at least giving your initials, then you're free game to ask for this and whatever else you can think of to keep getting concessions without spending any more money. So on the buying side, nibbling is a great tool for you to use. On the selling side, it is an awful tool for someone to use on you, and you have to be careful. Get a drink of water here. Splitting the difference, or finding common ground. That's when you have reached an impasse and nothing's moving forward. So one side or the other says to the other, let's see if we can split the difference and meet in the middle and move this on forward. Very common used in agricultural areas. It's a very common thing used with jewelry and with furniture, because these folks usually have high margins and lots of negotiating room. But that's for one set of people that's buying and selling. But there's another set of people called professional negotiators that they know how to game this, and I'm going to show you about that. Splitting the difference is finding common ground, meeting in the middle and going for it. So this party's over here, this party's down here in red, this was in blue, right in this area that's yellow, that's common ground. Then all three people can probably agree on and move forward if they get to that point. Remember that gaming people will play this. There's been a lot of books written on never split the difference. A lot of professional negotiators say never split the difference. Well, the reason they say that is, and here's the deal, is that some negotiators that are brand new, that have very little experience, will try to split the difference just to close the deal before they play out all their negotiating ploys. Sometimes people will split the difference and give up a lot of money that they could have earned themselves one way or the other, either on the buying and selling side, because they jump to splitting the difference. As a professional, you want to say splitting the difference is kind of the last thing that you've got as far up the line or as far down the line as you can with regular negotiating ploys, and now you're ready to go a little bit further. Then you might want to split the difference to find common ground and go ahead and close your deal. Here's an example. Let's say that the two offers are $100 and $50. So common ground in splitting the difference would be the two sides agree at $75, sign the deal and move on. But the professional will say, so I'm at $100 and you've come to $75. Well, I'll consider that, but you know, I really needed that $100. So if you want to split the difference between $75 and $100, that'd be $87.50. And sometimes they'll take it even to the next step and split the difference between $87.50 and $100, and you end up paying $93.75 when you thought you were going to end up paying $75. So you have to be careful with that, and that takes a little bit of play in doing that. So splitting the difference is getting squarely in the middle, but the professionals will not close the deal on the first split and work for a second or a third split, which improves their position. Is that wrong? No, because when either party says, let's split the difference, then I want to tell you as a selling person that they're going to buy. That is a real buying signal that whatever it takes, they're going to go ahead and buy from you. So it's a free game for you to negotiate and do what you can do to keep up in the ante to improve your position. That's what you're getting paid to do. That's what you're supposed to do as a business person. Improve your position every chance you get. But do it honestly with integrity. Now, show me the cash is as powerful as it gets. When you're trying to close a deal and you've got money to spend, and let's say that someone's offering you to sell you something for $500 and you've negotiated it down and you can't get them below $500 after you've done everything you can to try. Sometimes if you pull out $350 or $400 and lay it right on the table and say, either you can have this and we'll close the deal, or I'll take my money and go somewhere else and spend it. And as a last deal closer, last negotiating tool, sometimes that cash interface is very, very powerful, and they would rather take the deal and make less money than to see that cash flow leave their business. Because in my opinion, if somebody's got the money and they're leaving my store, that is negative cash flow, and that's the way I think about it. So anytime that you can, now if you don't have the actual cash and you've reached a negotiating point that you feel like, you know, let's say you're at 4,000 and they're at 5, for you actually to pull out your check, one of your checks, and write on it today's date and fill out, $4,000, write it right into the numbers, and then actually write out the 4,000 and sign it and say, now here's a $4,000 check. I can write your name on it right here, or I can take it down the street to the other dealer and write their name on it and close the deal. Making that type of statement right there sometimes will get people to come to your number when they wouldn't have done it before, especially if it's a salesperson that has to go talk to his sales manager or the owner of the business if they don't have the authority to close it. Because the owners of the business, just like you're going to be, just like I am, are going to say, I don't want that money to leave here because I need it in my bank account tonight, even if I can't make the profit we need to make. So show me the cash is very, very powerful. The trial balloon or hypothetical offer or test in the water is a very reasonable and decent way to find out if maybe you can close a deal with someone. You're a long way apart in your negotiation, and like just acres apart. Sometimes you can say, without making a concession, what if I would say this? Or hypothetically, could you come to this number? Not that I'm in a position to make it, but just let me know kind of where I stand. It's perfectly fine for you to throw out a number, to test the water, throw out a concession, or if I would do this or I would do that, you think you could come to my number? Or if I would do this, what would you be able to say back to me to help me do your deal? Keep the conversation going, and that's the way that you do it. Maybe I could take a less deposit, or maybe if you give me a deposit now, we could go ahead and do the deal, and you could pay me the balance later. Keep the conversation going with testing the water, with conversation. That's the way you find common ground. Now, negotiating ploys and tactics that we just talked about are powerful, and I want you to use them to your advantage. But you have to do some reading, and you have to kind of own this stuff. Different situations and tips will bring in different things. Now, in your study guides that I sent to you, there is some really good reading there, and it's not all that complicated. The writers of it, and I copied the work from other people, and I give them credit for it. The writers of it did a great job in spelling these things out to help you figure things out. Nonverbal communications, body language, different strategies that you might use in different ways. These handouts are exactly what you would get if you were getting a college degree in negotiating. So if you're serious about wanting to own these skills, and I encourage you to add all that you can to your tool belt, make sure you spend a lot of time with the handouts that I've already sent to you. Let's talk about bargaining now, and we'll be wrapping it up. You've gone through the negotiations, and you basically got down to the point it's time to cut bait or go fishing one way or the other. And you don't know if the customer is ready to go forward, or they're getting ready to leave you. So you need to be looking for nonverbal communications, and I don't call it signs of deception, but it also means signs of not being interested. If the person you're working with starts fidgeting, they hadn't been doing it before, but they start fidgeting, that's a sign they're getting nervous and not comfortable with the way the conversation is going. If they've been giving you back and forth good responses, and you feel like you've been communicating well, but they start hesitating, then maybe they're giving you the silent treatment after a concession, or maybe they're just feeling uneasy. They got anxieties. If a lot of people, they start blinking, or their eyes start shifting all around the room, or sometimes even pupils start dilating, that means they have lost interest altogether. And just showing lack of spontaneity. You say something, it takes them a long time to respond. The chances of them playing a ploy with you, which could be, are really low at this point in time. At some point in time, the serious negotiator is going to be ready to close the deal. If they're not ready to close the deal and they want to delay it, then they're going to give you signs of deception. It's going to be up to you and your skills to say things to get a good mindset for what they're doing. But if they need to be energized, you want to energize them with your secret weapon. Remember what your secret weapon was? Value added. You don't try to energize them with lowering your price or raising the price depending on which side of the fence you're on. You do it with value added. You're offering something that's going to be attractive to them and get their attention, that's not going to cost you a lot of money. So you have to be looking out real carefully for the signs of deception. On the other hand, a lot of people just kill their ability to close a deal because they don't know when to quit talking. And when customers are sending you buying signals, that means I'm ready to buy now, I've made up my mind, then you need to stop selling and start closing. So what are some buying signals? That would be when your customer is making statements like they are assuming ownership. Yeah, when I get this, I'm really going to enjoy going out fishing in the ocean on this new boat. Or when this is mine, I'm going to change my carport around so I can put my car in it. Or this new washer dryer is going to fit right in this space. Talking about the delivery, when do you think you're bringing this out, Steve? Or can you bring it out to me next Saturday? When they talk about instructions for delivery, then their mindset is they bought it. And if they talk about different questions about hey, when I get this home, how can I use it to do this? Or can I do this with it? When they asking those kind of questions, they have put themselves in the driver's seat or using whatever it is you're selling. Those are buying signals. Those are aha moments. Those are moments that are saying that the anxieties have gone and they're talking about buying now. The deceptions are saying, I'm still full of anxiety. I'm not ready to do this. But the positive buying signals are saying, yes, let's go ahead and figure out how to do this deal. And you know what? The great news is so many of your competitors will not see this, and they'll just keep on selling, keep on saying things. And everything they take a chance in selling and trying to sell something after the customer has made up their mind to buy it could turn them off. So it's important that you look for the buying signals and be ready to close the deal. All right? Now, I've had these conversations with my sales teams through the years so many times, and people look at me cross-eyed sometimes and say, are you serious? I am dead serious. And it's only a short period of time before a salesperson would come back to me and say, hey, man, that worked. That was the real stuff. Or when other people that have been in these seminars through the years and attended this particular one have sent me back an email and said, that meant the world to me, Steve. Thank you so much for sharing these secrets of how to close deals. When you do wrap up the deal, make sure you got your paperwork ready. So all that has to be done is get a signature. You collect them and you get your deposits, get your wire transfer information. You congratulate your bargaining partner on what a great deal they are, how good they did the deal. You always say to them, man, I hope we can do this again so maybe I can make back some of the money I've lost on this deal. Let me tell you, always do things. What I don't want you to say is, let's just look here. Let me just have a rain check on this and maybe we can revisit it later. No. You don't do that. When you got a chance to close that deal and wrap it all up, get the paperwork done, you do it and you close it. You don't come in unprepared. That gets back to that total preparation, serious preparation. When you go to the negotiation, you're going in there like you know you're going to close the deal and you have all your documents to do it. So you wrap it up as quickly as you possibly can and then shut up. Shut up and get out of there, because buyer's remorse and second thoughts and other people coming into the room and talking people out of stuff is real, and it happens. So you close your deal, you get your signature, you get your deposit or your payment or do your credit card information, and then you just hush and you leave. Now don't start celebrating right in front of your customer. Don't hoop and holler and clap your hands and high five and say, oh man, this is the greatest deal I ever done. Because every time you're bringing happiness to yourself, you're bringing some sadness to them. You don't want it to be that way. You want it to be a win-win situation. When you leave, you want them to be thinking, win, I did a good job here. Old Steve-O didn't make as much money as he usually makes. Steve-O's walking away with kind of a smile on my face, and I appreciate your business thing, but I don't do my smiling after I get out of sight. Because the key to the matter, you being smart here and you finding the magic marketing moment, depends on that customer being really pleased with the way the negotiation went, so that when you come back to them and follow up, making sure they're going to be 100% satisfied, they're still going to be happy and remember that you're following up, and then they will give you the magic marketing moment, which is to tell you what they plan on buying next or who they know is going to be shopping, to give you some references. That's when you make your marketing campaign work. It's when you come back and follow up. But right now, you've just closed your deal. You celebrate after you get out in the parking lot or in your car. Tomorrow night, money management. Next Wednesday night, find and train and retain employees and becoming a dream manager, which I think you'll love these two presentations. Remember, every moment matters. You're living your legacy, and I wish you the very best of luck in doing it. I will say to you, God bless you. Wish you the very best in everything that you're doing.